So, I don't remember if I mentioned this before, but in my README file, I basically have a message that says, "Nice one. Any tips or suggestions for my network?" And basically, I'm hoping that whoever does manage to get a successful hack on me would leave some tips for improvement. And I got hacked by N0731I73, and he said protect against portal. Good luck. And he's absolutely right. This is a thing that has came up a lot recently, where I basically get stealth hacked, and they just get nearly a free win. Yams47, complete hack with the portal. RJ666, no portal, but got a lot of B coins. And this guy, he used the portal and he got a complete hack. So let's take a look. And what's surprising here is that he doesn't even use beam cannons. He used only shurikens, and he didn't bother wraithing my hokc Caesar because my scanner was on cooldown, or upgrade. So yeah, of course it makes sense I should protect against the portal, but to be fair, there's not much I can do when my scanner is being upgraded, right? So, I mean, technically his tip is right, but at the same time, what can I do? Should I just get 2 scanners that are high level? Is that the best way to go about this? Since I'm not too sure. Since it seems like if my one scanner is on upgrade, then my entire network is vulnerable. It's a single point of failure, and not really too sure how to address this, other than maybe getting another build thread so that it finishes even faster. But the 5th build thread, I believe, is only another 5% boost to the completion time. So with 4 build thread, it's 75% faster, but with 5 build thread, it's 80% faster, so that's not that much faster. Maybe take off an hour or 2 at most. And so here we see that he immediately uses the shuriken to get onto my 3rd choke point, and he puts down the protector. He only needed 1, and he takes off these 2 security nodes pretty easily, because without a higher level antivirus support, they can take down the protector. And then he easily gets on to both of my sentries at the back, and with only just the ice wall, since they're both using low level antiviruses, he just takes down all of my storages pretty easily, and has time to loot all of it with plenty of time to spare. And he even gets the core too. And the thing is, with the portal, he's pretty much able to ignore most of my defenses at the front. And he's also able to bypass my antivirus completely. So my high level sentry isn't really doing much here at this point, which is a huge problem. And I've been getting a lot of successful hacks lately, all which mostly are because of stealth. This person, Embo BX19, stealth with Bordeaux. This person was the weird characters, stealth with Wraith. Brown Beater, I think, stealth with Portal. He, it seems like he disconnected, so I guess that's why he didn't get everything. But he got the core at least. And if we just take a look, it's a lot of stealth with Portal that gets everything. For, level 30, Minnesota, stealth with Portal. And so far, the only person who has managed to get a complete hack on me without stealth is this level 28, hokc Hawk. And it's very peculiar, because it seems like he only uses 3 programs, which is the beam cannon, the ice wall, and the blaster. And his beam cannon is the same level as mine. His ice wall is a lot higher, and his blaster is 1 level higher, which is strange, because usually when people hack me with only the ice wall, the antivirus is more than enough to break the ice wall. And I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but my antivirus is level 11 now, so that's actually pretty strong for a level 27 base, I think, since most of the level 30s I've seen have only antivirus around this level. But he's still able to break through it with only ice wall nonetheless, so I'm curious as to what exactly he did. So he goes down with 2 ice wall and he uses the blaster, which definitely is a pretty has a pretty big effect, because with the blaster he uses 3 hits, but even though he uses only 3 hits, a lot of the time between those hits are effectively the same as eliminating the node because they're disabled by the blaster. So even though I think he used 3 ice wall there, he was able to reduce the damage considerably, and since he's carrying so many ice walls, I guess it doesn't really matter that he used 3. So here he is also using the blaster again, and he's just spamming ice walls over and over. But the fact that he has this blaster, it's significantly reducing the damage he's taking. So he's able to survive with only these 1 or 2 ice walls. And the main thing to note is that usually with the beam cannon, when you have to cycle between ice walls, you lose a lot of damage, but the blasters do a lot of damage naturally. So it seems like he's just relying on the blaster to both make it so that he doesn't have to cycle through ice walls as fast, and to also sustain his damage per second, since he doesn't have to cycle the blaster as much as he does with the beam cannons, it seems like. So he actually got through here, and he just finishes off with beam cannons with plenty of ice walls to spare. So he used blasters pretty much for the entire network, except for back here, where he uses ice walls and beam cannons. And he does lose it, but he still has more ice walls to go, so he just puts it back on. So that's pretty interesting, because normally when the reason most people fail is that they lose a lot of damage by having to keep replacing the ice wall, and eventually they lose the ice wall. But with the blaster, it actually accomplishes 2 things in one go, is that it both accomplishes the damage reduction, allowing him to use only ice wall, and it also does a lot more damage than the beam cannon, because he doesn't have to remove the blaster as much as he would have to remove the beam cannon to put on a new ice wall. And another thing is that 1 blaster and 2 ice wall does a lot more damage than 1 beam cannon and 2 ice wall. So that's a pretty interesting way to go about it. And I'm actually a bit confused. I'm actually not too sure what's the best way to address an attack like this, because there's not much I can really, because there's no node that prevents a blaster directly, since the blaster basically disables the node for the most part, and the Guardian reduces damage, but it doesn't prevent the blaster effect from activating. So even if you hit onto a node who's protected by the Guardian shield, this node would still be disabled. It would just take less damage. So it's not like I can use the Guardian as a solution. Let's take a look again, because one thing that might be noteworthy is how many blasters he had to use on the code gate. He is only carrying 10 blasters, which is quite a bit, but he uses 1 on the first code gate, and then on the second code gate, he uses 3. So considering that every blaster takes up 6 slots, he probably doesn't have that many slots to use blasters on. Yeah, see, he uses 3 blasters here, and that leaves him with only 6 blasters remaining. So it might be good against someone who's using this playstyle to just add another code gate on the front. So then he would have to use, I guess, that would leave him with only 3 blasters remaining by the time he gets to the scanner, if I had 3 code gates at the front. And that would significantly reduce the amount of blasters he can use on the rest of my network, since I believe he ends up using 3 more blasters, or yeah, I believe he does end up using 3 more blasters, or maybe 4 more. Now he uses a beam cannon here, and yeah, he used the blaster on the scanner and the blaster on the Bitcoin mine. So that does mean he will have 3 more blasters left, but he was carrying 10 blasters. So that still wouldn't be enough by itself, because he would still have enough blasters at the end of everything. And we see here that having the Guardian isn't really that effective against this many blasters, because the blasters does so much damage in one hit that the Guardian doesn't have time to regenerate the shield. So it might be better for me to just move that Guardian right away to have a better use, because this Guardian doesn't really seem to serve that much purpose for the most part, and definitely didn't really have any effect at all on that last hack. Another thing to note is that the blaster went for this turret first, which I'm not sure why, because the priority is supposed to be that it attacks the node that I connect first, and I've been connecting this node first, and then this node. So it should really be attacking the turret on the left first, but it keeps attacking the turret on the right, and I'm not sure why that's happening, so I'm just going to do it again just in case. But I wanted to attack this node first, because then this would support it, and he wouldn't just immediately be able to get onto the scanner right away. So I reset that again. And another thing that I'm considering is possibly moving this Guardian here in place of the Bitcoin mine. But I don't really like that, because if I were to move the Guardian here in place of the Bitcoin mine, then what I would essentially have to do is connect it to the scanner and then connect these two here. And then instead of connecting the sentry to the security nodes, I would be connecting it to the Guardian. So then this would offer it as another choke point. But that actually isn't that good, because this is actually a huge vulnerability to the Shuriken. Because if you were to simply lay down a Shuriken here, then he can quite easily get to the two sentries and begin working on my storages, without having to worry about these two nodes here. But on the other hand, this point it was already pretty vulnerable to Shurikens to begin with. So it doesn't really matter that much if it becomes more vulnerable, if it becomes equally vulnerable to the Shuriken, since neither change really does anything to help with the Shurikens anyhow. So maybe I could just do this. Although another way to look at it is that this Bitcoin mine has a lot less firewall than this one Guardian. The Guardian has 250 firewall and the Bitcoin mine has 150. So these two security nodes would not be nearly as effective on the Guardian as they would on the Bitcoin mine. And the Bitcoin mine also has one less program slot. The only difference here is that by having the Guardian here, it's taking a lot more antivirus damage, which might actually be better since my antivirus is really the highest security node right now. So it might actually end up being better this way here compared to before. Previously, we have two security nodes with two antivirus on a 150 firewall node. And now we have two security nodes with two antivirus and two more antivirus on a 250 firewall node. So the question is two more antivirus good enough to make up for 100 more firewall? And also we have to consider whether it's enough to make up for the fact that they get another program slot for free. So the antivirus currently does 32 strength, and I believe that's in terms of damage per second. So it's 32 damage per second, and by adding two more nodes onto the Guardian instead, that's going to be an increase of 64 damage per second. But it's an increase of 100 firewall. So is 64 damage per second worth it compared to 100 more firewall? And the answer might be yes, simply because they have to use a protector or ice wall either way. But on here, they can only use, if they use an ice wall, they can use two ice walls and one beam cannon or blaster, or a protector and two beam cannon or blaster. Whereas here, they can use two ice wall and two beam cannon, which is significantly stronger. So it's really hard to say. It's a really big dilemma, which way is better. So why don't I just try it and then come back and see if it makes a difference or not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to detach this from this, and detach this from this, and detach the Guardian from both. And then I will attach the Guardian to this node. And then I'll also detach the two security nodes and attach them to the Guardian. So I want them to attack the turret first, because it's higher level, and then the Black Ice. And then I want them to attack the Sentry with money and the Sentry with B coins, in that order. And since there's an extra slot here, I might actually take this Evolver. And actually I want them to also attack these two storages last, because they're weaker. So then even though the storages aren't as valuable, this way it spreads the antivirus for longer. So it might actually reduce the amount of time they have to grab these two storages. So it might be a bit counterintuitive, but by attacking these two storages first, it actually makes them take longer on the Sentry and have more time for the antivirus to take its effect. So let's just try this for now, and then we'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out, then I will change it back. Or actually, I probably wouldn't change it back. I'll just put this Guardian onto the core instead. I don't want to focus too much on him, because so far he's the only person that succeeded. So definitely, I still want to make sure the Sentry is upgraded. Or not the Sentry, the scanner is upgraded, so I don't get more stealth hacks. And I also want to make sure the Sentry is upgraded, because a lot of my network right now depends on antivirus. But one thing to note is that it really seems like my scanner and the Sentry is like a single point of weakness right now. Because if my scanner is upgrading, they get into its stealth. If my Sentry is upgrading, they can just brute force in. So I'm not really too sure how to address this. I mean, should I just get another scanner and upgrade it? Or should I get another Sentry and upgrade it? Or should I just accept the fact that some people will hack me and just hurry up and rush them both to level 21 so then I don't have to worry about them again? I'm not too sure what the approach there is, so I guess we'll have to see as I level them up more and more. And I was mentioning how the code gate is probably another thing I should probably do. And I was watching a video earlier, and I saw that a really high level code gate at like maybe level 17, 18-ish. And it's extremely strong. It takes almost no damage from level 17 or 18 beam cannons, even 8 of them altogether. So it might be worth it to just invest in one really strong code gate here, and then maybe another really strong code gate here, and then just leave the rest at a slightly lower level for now. And the reason I want one here is to prevent someone from just coming in with the blaster, because it seems like with the blaster, you would really need a high level blaster to go through a really high level code gate. And one here because, well, this is a pretty good choke point right here. So by doing that, it might be able to also simultaneously address the blaster issue. But I think that's going to be stage 2. And my goal right now should still be to upgrade the scanner and the Sentry. So after that huge loss, I better do something to make up for it. So let me attack Jaguar 430. And wow, seems like he has quite a bit. 277k and 11k B coins. Let's see what we can do against him. So I am using a standard set right now, and he seems to have a pretty strong code gate here. That could be a bit of a problem. Hopefully it's not too much of a problem, but let me just give it a try. It's a good chance to see how strong my blast and beam cannons are, given that I have it up to level 9 right now. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 blasters here and then 1 beam cannon. And I'm going to time it so that it negates the antivirus completely by delaying them a bit, so that every hit will land right before the stun duration from the last hit goes off, like that. So now he's not going to be able to, or actually I mistimed it a bit, but ideally he shouldn't be able to even use the antivirus at all if I timed it correctly. And yeah, like that it seems to go down pretty fast. So he has the black ice on upgrade, so I can just put on 3 beam cannons here and go straight onto the turret. And here it seems to be connected to another turret, so with only one turret, I just need the ice wall and more beam cannon. And here, I think it's connected to the code gate, so I'm going to put the blaster here. And I'm also going to put beam cannons here because it's connected to that turret. And I don't want that turret to come back later to annoy me. And it's also connected to the core apparently, so I guess these beam cannons are kind of useful as well. The ice wall's gonna drop, but I think I can get the core before, so I don't need to put on another one. Yeah, there we go. And slowly I'm getting through this part too. I'm gonna put 3 beam cannons here because I think with only 1 black ice I can just kill it before I really need more than 1. And here is a pretty strong choke point. I'm gonna put on the ice wall. I'm not sure why that black ice was taking so much damage. I think it's because it's a pretty low level. That might be why. And I'm gonna reapply the ice wall here because it's a low level scanner. And I'm also gonna just put 3 here. I don't think I need to worry about an ice wall here since this is a pretty high level farm. And it's interesting that basically if you have a low level network and they have really low level node, they still kind of defend themselves simply because even if the defense is low level, by having low level nodes, the firewall is also lower level, so you're gonna have to use the ice wall anyway. So I guess that's kind of nice, but at the same time, it also goes back to show why I don't want to upgrade the ice wall too much, since I pretty much have to use it on most nodes regardless of what network I'm attacking, so why waste so much Bitcoin on a high level ice wall, right? And yeah, that was pretty successful. So I guess that's it for now. I have a lot of attacks and I don't think I need to show all of them since it's pretty much more or less the stealth attack. And when I get a stealth attack, it's really disappointing to watch because there's not really much to analyze at this point when they just portal onto this one node and then they always do the same thing. So that's why I absolutely want to upgrade the scanner so that they can't just do the same thing every time. And after that, then maybe I can analyze it more and see what else they can do. So yeah, that's all for this time, and thank you. I'll see you next time.